this is Ambie from Board Game Blitz, and today I'm going to tell you about all the games I played in September. And by September, I mean August. Yeah. Hi, this is Ambie from Board Game Blitz, and today I'm going to tell you about all the games I played in August. I played 24 different games, and I played 42 plays, so not that many were played multiple times. But I did play 11 new-to-me games, which is kind of a lot for me nowadays. So, onto the plays. The first two games were games that I've talked about previously and played a bunch. The first is Cross Clues, which is a word party game, cooperative word party game with a timer. You're trying to guess words in a grid. Each person has a card pointing to a coordinate in the grid, and they're, say, a one-word clue to get other people to guess it. And so they get the combination of words for that clue. I like coming up with the clue and trying to guess at the same time. It's all at the same time, so no downtime in this game. I had 4 plays of my very first adventure, Finding the Dragon, which is a choose-your-own-adventure role-playing game for toddlers. I've talked about that a lot already. And then next is Village Green, which I played 3 times. This was a new-to-me game. It was a review copy. I played it once multiplayer, I think 5 players, and then twice on stream solo. You could actually see the playthrough. But Village Green is a puzzly card game. You're trying to place down a 3x3 grid of flower plant cards that each have different properties to them. And then you have scoring rows that you're also playing down. So you place down scoring cards in the top and in the sides to score that row or that column based on specific scoring criteria. So you have those cards, and then you play the cards to try to match the scoring. But each card has a specific flower and type of flower, and if you play next to another card, it has to match either the flower or the color. So as you're playing more cards, it gets more constricted on what you can play there, and then you can't play what you wanted, and you need to play a certain card to get the scoring to work out. So it's a pretty fun, quick, puzzly game. I also had 3 plays of Rush Out, which is a 1 versus many real-time game. So I really like real-time cooperative games. This one's a real-time dice rolling game, but there's one person who's like the sorcerer, and they're working against everyone else, and you're basically rolling dice and trying to match things up to cards and get rid of your deck first. I like cooperative, fully cooperative better, because with 1 versus many, it really depends on the one player being like a similar speed to the average of everyone else. Because like we played where the one player was like one of the slower people at rolling the dice, and then we just, the many people just like completely destroyed them. And then when the one player was the person who was like the fastest person, then they beat us. So the balance really depends on that. So I had fun, but I think I prefer real-time cooperative games rather than like 1 versus many. And speaking of real-time cooperative games, we played Rail Pass 3 times, which is a real-time cooperative game where you're literally like delivering cubes on trains. You have these little train figures and cubes that you put on them, and you have to like pass them to other people. So it's dexterity too, because if you knock over the trains or the cubes, you lose them. Each person has like a colored station, and you have to deliver it to the right one. So you start out with colored cubes of everyone else, and you can only pass to the stations connected to you, and there's rules about passing and stuff. So it's a logistics game, but real time, so you can get kind of hectic. And this was a game that Toby and I had play tested like in its early stages and seen it change over time, because we'd seen it at BGGCon like a few years in a row being developed. So that was pretty cool, seeing it actually published and getting to play the actual game. It actually came out a few years ago, but we played it with our group recently. Another real-time cooperative game that I tried that was new to me was Project Elite, which is a real-time cooperative. Well, it has real-time phases, but you're like marine people fighting aliens. So there are multiple rounds, and each round has like spawning of aliens and bad monsters on the board, and then like some upkeep, and then the real-time phase, you're going to be rolling dice, and you need to roll different things to do for different actions, like move or fire your weapon, because you have cards that are weapons items. And so you need to basically kill all the aliens, because more are going to spawn later in the next round. And you need to stay alive in order to not lose. So there's an objective too. So in addition to killing all the aliens, which is already taking up all of your time, because each real-time round is only 2 minutes, I think. There's a lot of stuff you need to do. You're just trying to use up all your dice and roll them. I did pretty badly. Well, there's one side of the die that moves the aliens, and like, you can't re-roll when you get to that. Otherwise, you can re-roll as much as you want to get what you need. And I just kept rolling that side of the die. So on the second game we played, like I was not able to kill anything. I just ended up just moving the aliens a bunch. And then if they get to like the end of the board, then you lose. So we lost really quickly that time. But I do want to play more. And that was Project Elite. Another cooperative game that we got to play that we hadn't played in a long time was Witness. So Witness is a 4-player only cooperative game. It's kind of like a telephone mixed with deduction. So telephone where you're like telling information to someone and passing it around. Because in Witness, you each have information, And all of the information together will help you solve some crime. There's deduction and they answer questions at the end. But in order for you to get all the information, you have to whisper it to one person, and you only whispering it to the person on your left. And then the person on your right is going to whisper you what they know, and then you're going to whisper again to the person on your left the stuff that you knew from the person on your right. So basically, the only way you get information from the person on your left, and from everyone else, is through a game of telephone. And you're not allowed to write anything down until the end. So the information can get lost in translation, or forgotten, and then you won't be able to figure out the answer to the crime because it's like, wait, I don't have enough information. But I really like the deduction of this, and also like adding the telephone thing and the memory part is really fun and unique. We also played Go Away Monster with my kids a couple times. They still really like this game. It's a toddler game where you're drawing shapes out of a bag to put on your bedroom mat, your matching shapes and stuff, and then if you get a monster, you say, "Go away, monster," and you don't want the monster. But my kids now have like specific beds they want, the specific colors. Luckily, they don't overlap, so they can all be happy. But then they also decided that when they get a monster, they want specific monsters to put in their bed. The monster needs to sleep in the bed. So now when we played, like we all get our rooms, but also have to put a monster in the bed because it needs to sleep. Okay, on to the games we played one time, which is a lot of games. I played La Famiglia, which is an escape room puzzle type game. It actually has 2 parts, and I only played the first part, so hopefully we'll play the next part soon. But it basically has a lot of different puzzles. I think it broke out into 5 different puzzles that you could do at the same time. So I played it 3 players, and we were all working on different puzzles, and then you could like work together. I like the puzzle games, and it's another like narrative kind of puzzle game. It uses the internet. I think the internet is only for entering in the answer, which is what I like. I don't like having to Google things in order to solve your puzzles. But I really liked it, and I want to play the next part soon. I also played through Funny Pages, a comical puzzle game, which is a puzzle game. It's got a lot of like ciphers and stuff, but it has a bunch of comics, 28 different comics, and each of them is supposed to be like a different day of the week in a month, and you're supposed to order them all. But each comic is like one big panel comic, and then it has the answer to the riddle is a day of the week. So that helps you figure out the answer. And they also have hints, which I used a lot of. Some of the puzzles for me made more sense than others. Some of them are more heavy on like the ciphers, which I don't know, so I had to like look up hints and Google things a lot to actually figure out how to do it. But others I enjoyed more. But like if you like those type of puzzles, then this is fun. And it had a cool story at the end too, because it had a big meta puzzle at the end. I also played Yggdrasil, which is another cooperative game. I really like cooperative games, so we played a lot of them. But I think I mentioned this in a previous one of these, but this is a game where you're playing Norse gods and you're trying to survive, basically. You're beating back the bad gods. And so there's a board with a bunch of different spaces which represent the actions you can do on your turn. You pick 3 actions to do on your turn, and you're like getting weapons, trying to get stronger, trying to defeat the gods by like using some of the things you've gotten and rolling a die. But there's also other things that you try to defeat. There's a lot of stuff going on, and it's hard to win, especially at 6 players, which is what we played at. So we lost pretty easily in that one. Even though we did get a bunch of giants, which is another thing you can do. You can defeat giants, and there's a set collection mechanism where if you get 4 of the same set, which is kind of hard usually, but we managed to get 2 of those, you get like a really good thing. And we got 2 of those and still lost because it doesn't scale well with players. Like more players is a lot more difficult just because it takes so long to get back to your turn, and each player is specialized usually. But it was fun. We played Monikers, which is a party game. This is a team party game where you're guessing, so kind of like charades, but the first round is with words. You're going through a deck of cards trying to get your team to guess the title of each card by saying anything. And then the second round you use the same deck of cards so everyone knows what's in there theoretically, and then you only use 1 word each time as the clue. And then the third round you use no words at all, you just do charades. And the titles are like really weird things, a lot of like internet memes and stuff, but sometimes they're very long titles and you have to get it right, like exactly. So it can be a lot of fun. I really like Monikers. It gets very funny at the end with like inside jokes that were made just from that game, just because of like a charade for something is completely separate from what the actual thing is because of what we said earlier. I also played Reiner Knizia's Decathlon, which is a print and play game. We played this on stream. I don't remember what exactly it was for, but we played it on stream. And this is a game you can print and play for free on Board Game Geek. It's just a page and you roll dice, and it has a bunch of different events because it's a decathlon, so I guess 10 different events. Kind of like the decathlon, it has like the 100-meter run and like hurdles and stuff, and each event is different. You roll dice and you're trying to get a high score on each one. Some of them have multiple attempts, so it's kind of a cute thematic dice rolling game. I also played Taskmaster, the board game, on stream. Crystal hosted this. I guess there's a show called Taskmaster, which I haven't seen, but it's basically one Taskmaster gives everyone else like this ridiculous task to do. And in the board game, it's the same thing, except for, I guess, maybe slightly less ridiculous tasks, more things that you can do at home with supplies you have at home. So like one of the tasks was make the cutest sculpture out of toilet paper. And so everyone we rotated being Taskmasters, and it was pretty fun, just like silly party game type stuff. I played Wavelength, which is a team party game where you're trying to be on the same wavelength as your teammates. So there's a dial, and it points to like a certain spot, and the clue giver knows where that dial points, and then they have like a wavelength card that says something like easy to do and difficult to do. And then you think of something in that range that will point people towards there. So it's like on the more easy to do side, you think of something that's easy to do. And then so everyone else on your team will be guessing and turning the dial to point there. And they're trying to think like, oh, is that thing easy to do? Or no, I think it's slightly more easy to do. Or like, oh, but is this person saying it? And so there's a lot of discussion that comes out on these things. So we actually played on the advanced mode, which has like more difficult abstract scales. One of them that was funny was sexy Pokemon and unsexy Pokemon or something. And so we had a big discussion about which Pokemon are more sexy, and that was kind of funny. Another party game we brought out that we hadn't played in a long time is Decrypto. This is a team word guessing game, but it requires writing on sheets. The reason we hadn't played this game is because we ran out of sheets and had to print out more, and so like our printer was not working, and we got it working with like one of our computers finally. So now we have more sheets and we can play more. But in Decrypto, each team has 4 words that they all know what they are, and each turn a clue giver has 3 numbers, so like 4, 2, 1, and that will point to which words they need their team to guess. And they give a clue for each number, and the clue can be anything. It could be like a phrase or even like acting things out, but usually we do words, like written down words or phrases. So it's really easy for your team to guess the code 421 because they'll see the words and they know which words go to which clue pretty easily. But the catch is the other team also hears the clues and they're trying to guess the code as well. So as the rounds go on, they're going to be hearing these clues and knowing which words they go to, because after the round ends, you tell what the correct answer was. So they know like, oh, number 2 has water and blue and stuff, so maybe it has something to do with the ocean or like with water. And so as the rounds go on and new clues come out, they can match things up and they'll be able to intercept the clues and get a point. So you want to avoid that happening, but you also get a negative point if your team doesn't guess. So you need to make sure your team can guess. So you're trying to give obscure clues that don't match kind of, so that the other team can't guess, but you still need your team to guess. So it's really fun coming up with clues, and then when someone comes up with clues that are like too obscure and you're just like, what? What are you thinking here? So I really like Decrypto. Alright, on to some more new to me games. I got to play Desktop HEBOCON Battle Kit, which is a game that's been on my wanted playlist for a long time. This is a Japanese game that's kind of a mixture between Patchwork and Robo Rally, if you know of those. So the theme of this is HEBOCONs are crappy robots. They're like purposely bad battle bots. And so you are building one of these robots, and the way you do that is you take these little polyomino tiles and you're stacking them on top of your board. So you kind of take them and have to remember what you got before, because you're taking them all at once before you're building anything. And then after that round where everyone takes them, everyone has a real-time phase where they're all building their board. And then when that's done, you get scored based on how many spaces you filled in. So you want to fill in a bunch of spaces, but if you filled in all the spaces, your robot is too good. So you lose points for that. And then after that, there's the BattleBots round. So there's a board with your little robot figure, and then each piece that you add on your board has like little actions that your robot can do, like move this direction, or get points. And you're trying to be the last robot standing. You can push other robots off the field. And there's an action on your board that actually makes you turn your board. So like what was up, if you turn your board, it's going to be right now. And so you're like, you can't really have time to plan all of this as you're gathering the things and building your board too, because there's the shapes to worry about and like what you can fit on your board, and then also the actions and movements, and then like the direction of the movements if you rotate your board. So you can try to plan for it, and theoretically you could plan and do well, but in actuality it's like very hard to do that, and it just ends up like messing up. So the theme is really cool, and it's a fun game. I also got to play Sorry Sliders, which is an older game, but I got it as a hand-me-down to play with my kids, and they like playing with the pieces. But Sorry Sliders is not like the game Sorry. It's actually a dexterity game where you're sliding your pawns, kind of like a shuffleboard type thing, You're trying to slide them into this middle ring. Everyone slides all their pawns one at a time until all of the pawns are in the middle, and then you score based on that. And then you move your pawns up on the little scoring board, and you're trying to get all your pawns to the end. So it's basically like a up to 4 player shuffleboard type game, which is pretty fun. I also played Venn, which is a review copy. It's a cooperative or team party game where you're trying to guess words. I like all these word guessing games. But we only played the cooperative mode so far. I kind of want to play the team mode as well. But in Venn, as the name suggests, it's a Venn diagram. There's a Venn diagram, and you're putting art cards on there. The art cards are kind of Dixit-ish. Like if you play Dixit or Mysterium, you know the cards, you can't really describe them. They've got a lot of weird stuff on it. So they're up to interpretation. There is a list of 12 words, and the clue giver is going to have a card that points to 3 of the words. They're all numbered words, so it has 3 numbers on it. And those are the words you're trying to get them to guess. And so you're placing cards like it's a Venn diagram. So there's 3 circles, and they overlap. And so like the overlap of all 3 circles is going to be a card that fits all 3 words. And then like the overlap of 2 of them is a card that fits 2 of the words. And then the part that doesn't overlap on one circle is going to be only that word. So you want a card that like only has that word and not the other 2. And you're going through all of these cards, looking through and like placing them real time, because in the team mode, both teams are just playing at the same time. They have different words they're trying to guess, but then they're just playing, and then whoever calls out Venn first, that team will get to guess and can get a bonus point if they get all 3 right. But in the cooperative mode, you get 2 minutes to place everything, and that's like time goes by so quickly because it's really hard to find these cards that match these words when the cards are just very weird. And then you play it down and you can't move it after that. And then the people start discussing, and then you realize, oh gosh, I should have played it somewhere else. So I really like this game, and I want to play it at teams. I do have a friend though who doesn't like Dixit type games. He doesn't like the interpretations of the weird art, I guess. So he doesn't like Dixit or Mysterium. And he didn't like this game that much. So I'm not sure when we'll be able to play the team version. Maybe we'll just have him play anyway. Hammer Time is another new to me game. So this is a game that we got for my kids, but I actually played it with adults because it's a dexterity game, and those can be fun with adults. In Hammer Time, you're dwarves trying to get gems, and the back of the box is used with a mat on it, like a neoprene mat, and you put a bunch of gems on there with different colors. And on your turn, you're hitting the box with the hammer until some gems fall off, and you want less than 9 to fall off, I think. So you don't want to hit it too hard, but you're going for certain colors. You want to collect certain colors to put in your little mine cart. You have like a certain card that's up, and you're trying to get through all your cards, and it shows you what colors you need. There's also tasks that if you complete that task on that round, then you get a special wild gem. But we played the advanced mode, which each turn you roll a die, and then that color tells you what you need to do. Like sometimes you have to like put your head on the table while you're hitting, or hit with your eyes closed, or like use the handle instead of the hammer part. So it was fun, silly dexterity game. Kind of like Click Clack Lumberjack or TikTok Woman, which is another game we have where you're trying to hit things and have things fall off, but not too much. So I like those games. We also played Durian recently, which is a game that we played a lot a while ago, but not as much recently. So I don't think I've talked about it on one of these. But Durian is a bluffing game by Oink Games. So kind of like a liar's dice type thing, except for you don't know what your own card is. So the theme is you're gorillas in a grocery store and with fruit. So each card has 2 sides, and it has like fruit, either durian, bananas, strawberries, or grapes. And it has like 1, 2, or 3 of each fruit. And you're gonna have that facing out from you. So everyone else can see your card, and you can't see your own card. So you can see everyone else's card. And that makes up the supply of the store. And each turn you're either gonna call a bluff or draw a card and play it in the middle. And you can pick which way to play it so that either one side or the other is gonna be like the demand. And you wanna have it so that the demand is less than or equal to the supply. And so if at the beginning of your turn you think that the demand is more than the supply, then you can ring the bell and call people's bluff. But there are special cards that change the rules. Like one card, if someone has it, it means that there are infinite bananas in the supply instead of whatever is showing. Or another card, if someone has it, means that all the 3 cards that you played out in the demand don't count, so that counts as 0. So I usually don't like bluffing games, but this is like an exception for me. I mean, I still get stressed out with it, so I don't like it as much as some other games, but I do enjoy playing it. And it's a lot of fun just like trying to figure out what other people have, and then if people are like way off sometimes, and then just calling people's bluff, or sometimes people like really bluff, and then someone's like, wait, why did you play that? And then they like still think they're okay, even though it was like a complete bluff. So it can get a lot of fun bluffing moments. I also played a couple more roll and writes on stream, Rolling America and Criss Cross. I remember now this was for the Gen Can't stream that Crystal did at the beginning of the month. But Rolling America is a roll and write game where you're rolling colored dice with different numbers and you're trying to mark in numbers on this map of America. It's like a pixelated map, kind of. There's a lot of rectangles in there instead of the states. But any rectangle touching another rectangle, it has to be either the same number or one higher or lower. So as you fill in all the rectangles, it gets constrained what you can fill in, and you're gonna have to put X's in if you can't fill in a spot. So you're basically trying to get the least negative score. You don't want as many X's. And then Criss Cross is a kind of pattern making game. There's different icons on the dice, and so you roll the dice and then you have to put those icons on your sheet. Your sheet is a grid of like 5 by 5, and in order to score you want like multiple items in a row in the same row or column. So you get more for like 2, even more for 3 in a row. So you want to place them like next to other ones of the same one, but then depending on what's rolled, you might not be able to do that. And lastly, I have one log play of Pocketbook Adventures, but I actually played 3 areas, so I just marked it as 1. This is a solo pencil and paper RPG that's in a little pocketbook. It has like a whole campaign with different areas and different maps, and you're drawing on the map to get different items and defeat monsters, but instead of rolling dice, you just use everything with a pencil. For each monster, there's a dot on the paper in the book and then a target, like a bullseye. And you have to start your pencil at the dot, close your eyes, or just not look at the paper, and then lift it up without touching the paper and try to hit the center of the target. And there's like rings outside of it, so like each ring you go out, you get damaged. And you do that for other things too, like opening treasure chests, you get a variable amount of coins based on how well you hit the target. So I actually really like that mechanism because it's more skill than dice. I have more control over it, I feel. And I actually got a lot of bullseyes in the playthrough, which is coming out next week, so be on the lookout for that video. But also, you don't have to bring a die around with you to roll. I know, I mean, you can roll dice on Dice app and stuff, but it's not just like having it self-contained in the book and a pencil, and you don't need anything else. I had fun playing it. You get scored based on like how many monsters you kill, how much health you lose, and how many like movement steps you ended your turn on. But if you end your turn on the same spot as a previous turn, it only counts as 1. So there's a little puzzle in figuring out the route you need to take to get to all the monsters you want to kill and get through the items, but then also try not to use up too much of your movement points. So I really like that. And I actually played another partial game in the car as I was parked waiting for a preschool to end for my kids. So I'm excited to play through more of the campaign. And that was all the games I played in August. Make sure to like and subscribe, and let me know what your favorite game you played in August was in the comments below. Thanks for watching Board Game Blitz. Bye!